I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the lands where we all meet from today. I'm joining you from the traditional country of the Tarbalang Banda, Garang Garang, and Bailai peoples. I'd like to recognise this country always has been and continues to be of cultural, spiritual, social, and economic significance to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. I'd like to pay my respects to their elders past, present, and emerging. So, welcome to Men's Health Week. It runs this week in June every year. Today is the first day because I'm just seeing some more messages. Thank you. Good morning, Robert, joining from the Goldfields. Great. So one of the things we're doing this week is putting a focus on men's health checks. So check out our resources. Our comms manager Kim will no doubt be posting some links for you to have a look at in the chat box. And we decided that our lunchtime webinars this year would be under the theme of men's health check-ins. We're not actually going to check your health. Can't do that. We've not found a way to do that virtually yet, but we're going to check in on different aspects of men's health throughout the week. We're looking at sleep. We're looking at all the different men's health checks you can get at different stages of your life. We're going to be looking at the links between drugs, alcohol, and mental health. We're going to be looking at how you can help take care of your mates. But first, to get the week started, we're going to be focusing on the links between exercise and our health. And we've got a fantastic speaker joining us today, sports commentator, media personality, event facilitator, brand ambassador, and importantly for us, motivator as well, is Duncan Armstrong, OAM. Duncan became a household name when he claimed one of only 3 gold medals that Australia won in the Seoul Games in 1988, also breaking the 200-meter freestyle world record at the time. He's coached and mentored by the charismatic and unstoppable Laurie Lawrence, and Duncan's career in the pool spanned 10 years in the green and gold. Since retiring from competitive swimming, Duncan has received a host of national honours, including the OAM and the Young Australian of the Year. These days, Duncan divides his time raising 5 children with his wife, Rebecca, and has maintained a corporate career with many of Australia's most recognised brands, organisations you'll have heard of, like Telstra, and Westpac, and Qantas and Cisco. Duncan is currently the Stakeholder Manager with ESSA, which is the Exercise and Sports Science Australia. He is engaged in media work and corporate coaching, as well as charitable partnerships and his services as a committed Christian. Duncan's a truly inspirational Aussie with a truly inspirational story, and he's going to share some of his memorable moments with us today and lessons that life has presented him. Please, if it was a real live room, it'd be a round of applause there. So a virtual round of applause, please, for Duncan Armstrong. Thanks for joining us, Duncan.
Thanks, Glenn. It's very good to be here, mate.
So exciting to have you with us to talk about this topic. Before we actually get on to exercise and men's health, could you just give us a flavour of could you encapsulate, your 10 years of being an elite sportsman and what was like and what the highlights were and the big learnings for you?
Yeah, thanks, Glenn. I think exercise has been part of my life for a very, very long time. I grew up in the tropical and exotic location called Rockhampton. And Rockhampton is just all about sport. It's got some great sporting fields, got some great sporting culture and tradition, and it's got 2 50-metre swimming pools because Rocky is a hot place. So with those 2 pools in place, I lived on the south side. I started training at the South Rocky pool, and Rockhampton is very parochial. It's got a river, the Fitzroy River, straight down the middle of it, so it's north versus south. And pretty much that's where I got a taste to compete and compete well, and to represent. So, I started my sporting career in Rockhampton, and then moved to Brisbane when I was about 15 years of age to engage Laurie Lawrence in the Laurie Lawrence swim team, which was just a factory of Olympians and world champions and world record breakers. So I wanted to be one of them, and all my heroes were in that squad. So it was a real privilege to join the Lawrence swim team, to engage with Laurie and to start my journey to be able to understand how to race, how to train, how to stay fit, and how to get mentally prepared for something like the Olympic Games. And it took me 5 years to get to my first Olympic Games at the age of 20 in Seoul in 1988. And I won a gold medal on the first day of competition for Australia. I beat 3 world record holders in the 200 metres freestyle to basically live my boyhood dreams of winning a gold medal and breaking a world record. Got to the 1992 Olympic Games 4 years later and retired a year after that. So I had 10 years in the green and gold and was able to attend 2 Olympic Games, 2 Commonwealth Games, 2 World Champs. I did everything in twos. And so I look back on my 10-year career for Australia, and I'm very thankful for all the lessons that I learned, the people that I ran into, the people that invested so much time and effort in my swimming career for me to be a good swimmer and to represent Australia, which is just a huge milestone in any athlete's career. So I've got very fond memories of my swimming years and how it set me up for the rest of my life in terms of habits that sustain me, habits that sustain me being a husband and a father and all those habits, and professionally being able to work in a professional organisation like Exercise and Sports Science Australia and all the other sort of corporate companies that I've worked with. So I'm very grateful for all the lessons I learnt, and the lessons that, if you work hard at something and set good strategy, good goals, then good things can happen.
Right. Well, you belong to a very elite club. I mean, statistically, very few of us actually break a world record or get their hands on a gold medal. And it may be hard for us to relate to that. I think we can all relate to the dream. I think I was probably about late 30s when I finally realized I was never going to get to the Olympics, even though I hadn't been to an athletics track for 20 years. It suddenly went, it's not going to happen now, is it? It's not. I think I always held that dream myself in the back of my mind, like many of us sports enthusiasts and sports fans do. But I suppose one thing we can all relate to is transitioning, and because we all face transitions in life, whether from like school to university, from one place to another, from a relationship, from a workplace. What was making the transition from elite athlete into, I don't know, do we call it civilian life? How did that go for you?
Yeah, it's a really great question, Glenn. I agree with you that all of us on the call and everybody watching later on is going to find times where they have to come away from something they know a great deal about into something they don't know too much about. I always sort of like relate to that time in year 7 of primary school when you're the king of the school and you know everything. And then you have to transition into high school, and you go into high school and you don't know the rules, you don't know anything really, and your lack of experience is really telling. So I always look at it like that. And yeah, I've been through a couple of transitions in my life. Some of them I didn't handle very well, even though I was an elite athlete and I'd had all these psychologists and mindset training and things like that invested in me to be a very, very hardcore athlete in some unbelievably high pressure situations. Transitioning into the workforce after that wasn't easy. And I don't mind saying that, I had a problem with the drink and a problem with the drugs for a little while as I transitioned out of the elite attention of that sporting career into the media and into the other things in corporate life that I did. I had an identity crisis and I had an identity problem because when you're an athlete in Australia, it comes with one word. People would say, what do you do? And I said, I'm a swimmer. And it's one word. And everybody just got it. And so it was really quite easily to sit in that identity. But then once that identity was gone, when I was transitioning out of swimming, I had to get a new one. And it wasn't too easy and it wasn't very comfortable. And I kind of suffered through a great deal of like, well, who am I and what do I do? Because yes, I've got this profile, I've got this brand, this personal brand, but how does that translate? I can't live on that for the rest of my life. And so, yeah, I had a really hard time working out who and what I was. And I kind of came back to, again, these really strong mentors that invested in me to be able to sort of say, yes, you're going through a hard time at the moment, but no, it's not going to last forever. And you will come through it if you can just do this, 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 and this. And so they gave me direction, pointers, and just that little bit of encouragement that a bloke needs to keep on going, to find out who and what you are. So the drinking stopped, the drugging stopped, the running around, the drug, sex, and rock and roll sort of slowed down enough for me to sort of get my breath, start developing a better outcome for myself in terms of my identity. And again, just relied on some really good men and women around me just to do that investment so I could listen enough to get to the next phase. So I was very fortunate that way, but it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy.
That's some real gold in there that we can all take from. And the bit for me is that value of mentors and mates who've been through stuff themselves, and by sharing their experience can help us on our way. So good to know you had good people around you.
Yeah, I was very, very fortunate. And I think if you slow down enough, if you're going through some troubles and you slow down enough and you look around you, most of us are surrounded by people who are willing to help, take their really hard worked experience and knowledge and share it as advice. We just have to be courageous enough to ask for help.
Right. And I think you shared with me briefly when we chatted the other day that you'd also had some quite serious physical health challenges at some stage. Are you happy to tell us about that?
Sure. Like almost 4 years ago, I had an outrageously bad heart attack. I didn't actually know that I was ill, and didn't know that family history had basically crept up on me. I wasn't testing myself well enough, and I wasn't testing for the right things regularly enough. And so my health was in crisis, and I didn't even know about it. Then sitting at work on a Tuesday afternoon at 3:30, I had this serious heart attack that almost took my life, and I got to the hospital and they were able to revive me. And then the next morning I went in for open heart surgery and had a triple bypass. And this is when I'd been to the gym that day, did a great workout, thought I was winning, going really good, hashtag winning. Yeah. And yet, 2 hours later, I'm fighting for my life in a hospital. So I was very, very fortunate that I was able to survive that. And I've been able to get an education in terms of what is the important testing I should be doing for someone with the family history with chronic heart disease. So now I test regularly, of course. I pretty much everybody in my whole life, I've pulverized enough to go and get their testing in terms of a calcium score, to get a calcium score and work out what your calcium and plaque is doing in your major arteries around your heart, and the rest of the testing that goes with it. So now I'm a lot more on top of it. My education around, what my family history is and what testing will empower me to live a long and healthy life is pretty much underway. So I got a very scary education about 4 years ago, but these days my health is extremely good.
Yeah. Are we allowed to ask how old you were at that time?
I was 52.
52.
Yeah. Seems to be the age, hey? Like,
yeah.
Poor old Warnie, a couple of my mates at 52, a couple of other people at 52. It seems to be 52 is the mark for heart disease to really show up in a very dangerous way.
Yeah. Just hit 54, so keeping my fingers crossed for myself. But
go and get a calcium score. Go and get a calcium score, Glenn.
Yeah, no, sure, absolutely, 100%. Yeah. So a bit of info for those joining us. We have a whole toolkit on men's heart health. Go and check it out on the Know Your Man Facts site on our website. And one of the facts we share in there is that men are 3 to 4 times more likely to die of heart disease before the age of 65. But now we have free tests on Medicare. You can go to your GP. If you're 45 and over, you can go and get checked. You can even walk into pharmacies and get these free checks off the machines that'll give you an indication of the basic numbers like blood pressure and that kind of stuff. And even if you're really fit, there's markers there. And so, getting checked and talking to someone, going through the family history, all that, really, really important. Knowing what made our mums and dads and grandparents and uncles and aunties unwell and finding out is really important, and sharing that information with our kids as well, so that they know when what things that they need to look out for. So interesting story. But you're going well now after 4 years.
I'm going really well now. I think a question just popped up of what is a calcium score. So anything from 0 to 300. You're pretty much okay. Like, the calcium score is the only time in your life you really want to be a big fat 0. And so if you're anywhere near 0, you're doing really, really well. Above 300 is a concern, and above 600, you're starting to get into the red zone in crisis. And mine was, well over 1,000, unfortunately. My score is going a lot better now. I'm down to around about 450 or something like that, my latest score. So again, still have to work on it, still have to monitor it, and I have to do my dailies that will help me. So it's about exercise, it's about diet, it's about sleep, funny enough, and stress. So they're the four pillars that you should be trying to work on for heart health and other things that men seem to pick up as we age.
Yeah, and just another question, and thanks, Robert, for that question. And Bruce has got a question as well, just asking if you're happy to share, are you taking any medications such as statins, and if so, are there any side effects?
So I'm working with my cardiologist at the moment. I've just gone through a 12-week heart intervention, if you want to put it that way, on television. It goes to air Monday week, the 17th. It's going to be a four-part series with Tracy Grimshaw. And so I've just gone through a 12-week program working with a dietitian and sports scientist, and I'm off all medication at the moment. My cholesterol is coming down. It's almost under 4, the LDL. So I'm not taking any medication at the moment. I'm working with a cardiologist, and I will go on medication if I have to after another, say, 12 weeks of this program that I'm on. I'm trying to get my numbers down to an acceptable level that's no longer in a risk with this program, and the program is focusing on diet, exercise, sleep, and stress. So if I can't get them down in another 12 weeks, I'll be going back on statins and maybe some blood pressure pills. But at the moment, I'm not on anything.
Right. Thanks for that, and thanks for those questions, Bruce and Robert. Keep popping questions into the chat box, because we'll be doing a Q&A at the end, but we can ask the questions as we go along as well. So coming sort of more general, thank you so much for sharing your personal experience. It's so powerful when you actually hear it from people's own experience rather than just general facts and figures. And the general is really interesting too. This is why we first made connection with Exercise and Sports Science Australia, because some of the information you guys have got about links between poor health and lack of exercise, and then in the flip, good health and regular exercise are really mind-blowing and really motivating from my perspective. So is there sort of the general exercise and sport sort of spiel you want to give about why we should be doing exercise and what the benefits are, or the risks when we don't?
Yeah, so exercise, you can approach exercise like medicine, and it's free. You don't need a doctor, you don't need a referral or anything like that. Exercise just works for our bodies in so many profound ways. And at ESSA, Exercise and Sports Science Australia, we have all this research and evidence-based research that we form up and share with people, because no matter where you look across the chronic disease of diabetes and anything like that, and we're talking aged care, NDIS, our veterans, the compensation schemes and things like that are so large parts of our society. Exercise works right across the whole thing. It helps you with longevity, it helps you with any sort of disease that you have, and it helps you with your mental health more than anything else. So exercise works at a very, very base level, and anybody on the call who's exercised for any period of their life, you can remember it. You can remember how clear you were. You can remember how motivating it was, how inspired you feel, how positive you felt, and things like that. So that's the role of exercise on our mental health and our physical health. Exercise is medicine right across so many different things. And sometimes it's hard to hear from an elite athlete talk about it, because it's a major part of their life. They're motivated to do the exercise. They get rewarded from the exercise in terms of results and winning, and maybe sponsors and financial results that we see with all the pro sports like tennis and cricket and football and golf and things like that. So we see these very rewarded athletes on our TV. And sometimes we can dismiss the power of exercise because, well, it's okay for them because that's their job. But I've got a really, hardcore job that I've got to do 60, 70 hours a week, and then I've got to run the family and things like that. So we can get tremendously distracted away from how valuable exercise is in our life. And you don't need a lot of it. You don't need a lot of it. You need about 30 to 45 minutes every single day. And the beautiful thing is, Glenn, it doesn't matter what it is. You just have to move. You just have to get into a point where you're huffing and puffing. So the exercise and your heart beating and your lungs and all your systems are working with anything. Now, as an old athlete, I had a hard time with that, because I was so driven. I said, okay, here's the program. We start here and we move to here, and it's got to be this, and it's got to be world class, and it's got to be. And so I sort of defeated myself with my mindset, because for years I rejected exercise. I'd finished in the water. I was working in television. I was going really, really well in terms of my corporate career. I really kind of rejected exercise. I really wanted to move away from it. It's only because I had this mindset that that's what exercise was. And it wasn't until I actually heard a couple of exercise professionals, a couple of exercise physiologists, like S's members, and they sort of said, no, 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 no. Your body just needs to move. It doesn't need to be a program. It doesn't need to be at the gym. It doesn't mean to be in a team. It doesn't mean, you go and do whatever exercise you want today. And that really released me. That sort of like woke me up to the fact of, oh, I can actually go and enjoy this. I don't have to have a Laurie Lawrence over my shoulder screaming at me to say, how tough are you? How strong are you? We've got to beat the person beside you. If you're resting, you're going to be dead, that kind of thing. And so then I went and I started experimenting with tennis and rowing and karate and weightlifting and cycling and triathlon and on and on and on. And I've now enjoyed so many sports. I'm probably terrible at 90% of them, right? But it's kind of not a results column that I'm chasing. I'm just chasing the activity of having a go, having some fun, and doing some exercise. And so now exercise is a major part of my life almost every single day. And I really don't care what it is. Sometimes it's just like jogging with the kids or going for an ocean swim or going to the gym. And I love the gym because of all the mirrors. But anyway, so it's about getting out there and moving your body and just kind of releasing your mindset it doesn't matter what it is, you just need to exercise. And that exercise has so many far-reaching benefits for your mental health and your overall health, but also your relationship health and the health with your kids and the activities as a family. And, because the healthier you are, the more you engage, the deeper you get, the more safe you feel. Right. So it all goes hand in hand. And, we always come back to this wonderful saying, exercise is medicine. And medicine for everything.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. People listening, if you want to share the things that you're already doing, which are exercise, and that can be, training for an ultra marathon, or it can be going dancing every Wednesday, or going for a walk with a mate, or playing with the kids, or gardening, or whatever it is. Interested to hear what types of exercise people are already including in their lives. Question for Kim. How did your diet change, Duncan?
Well, I've tried many diets, Kim. Like when I was a mad keen swimmer, we were pretty targeted about diets. And back in the 80s, there wasn't a lot of supplements. So there wasn't a lot of the protein drinks that we see today and these balanced cocktails that you can buy from the supermarket and your sub stores. So, my diet back in the day, I used to eat 50 Weet-Bix every single day, a cheesecake and a Christmas cake a week. Or every other day. So it was 50 Weet-Bix a day, a cheesecake and a Sara Lee Christmas cake pretty much every 2 days, plus our meals on top of that. So we're eating around about 5,000 to 6,000 calories a day and probably burning just as much because we're doing 400 laps of a 50-meter pool every single day in the Laurie Lawrence swim team. So that kind of balanced it up. But I think it was those Weet-Bix and all the carbohydrates that gave me my heart condition later in life that I wasn't testing for. So today my diet has really changed more to be probably more carnivore keto. I love my meat and I eat a lot of meat. And my wife forces me now to eat a lot of vegetables with my meat. But my portion size has come down. That's been another big rejig for me that, I eat much less portions. And I've really discovered fasting. So every now and then I'll go for a 36 or a 48-hour fast. And I'll probably fast maybe once a week, about 18 hours. And that seems to set the tone for my body to stay constantly at the same weight. I'm really off sugar, so I don't really get a lot of cravings because the sugar gives you such terrible cravings. So right now I probably am in the best command of my diet ever. And I've I've been very fat. Like, when I got out of the water, I put 2 kilos. I put a kilo on a week every single week for about 12 months. So I put about 50 kilos on once I got out of the water. And when you're only 80 kilos, 50 kilos is 130, you don't look the same. It looks like I ate about 3 of me. So that was a bit of a battle for about 4 or 5 years. So I've been really overweight, and I've been able to drop that weight back. So my diet is pretty stock standard. I don't take anything special. I buy it all from the grocery store. But yeah, I'd probably be a little bit more carnivore keto than anything else.
Thanks. Great question, Kim. I'm just going to pick up some of the comments in the chat box here. I think firstly, I have to really acknowledge who is it who's just in the Brizzy to the Bay? Troy, what a legend! Just done the Brizzy to the Bay yesterday, 100K. So
Oh, dude,
that's a
that's
lot.
good going. Thank goodness it was a beautiful day in Brizzy yesterday.
But I don't know who's braver, because Jonathan in Tassie's been out body surfing, and the water temp down there at the moment is pretty sharp.
Yeah, well, you got no problem with the cold plunge today, mate. You've already had it, so that's amazing. That's
I chucked in that I at the very least I go for a cycle once a week with my mate at the weekend, which earns us a very big brekkie afterwards.
I'm not too sure it does, mate.
No, okay, that's what we tell
I don't
ourselves.
think the big brekkie calories have been burnt with 2 rides a week. You're gonna have to lift that to 3 or 4, Glenn.
Yeah, okay. I'll have to go back and tell him next weekend. I've got advice from a gold medalist.
Yeah,
Our routine does not stack up with the science, I'm
that's
afraid.
right. You can have a small bowl of muesli from now on.
Thank you very much. And also Chris Curtis, who was training for a half marathon, which he did 2 weeks ago, and he's got another one coming up in July. But also, this is a great thing. I don't know if people have heard of this, but the park run,
Mm.
5K run, you can do it at any speed. You can take the dog, you can push a pram, you can walk it. Chris, where is your park run, Chris? Just pop a message in there. But Chris does a park run every Saturday morning. It's great because he's saying it brings a social aspect, so you get to connect with the people, and it's fully inclusive. It really is. It's like, it doesn't matter what your ability is, anyone can show up at the park run and take part. That's a great free initiative available.
Yeah,
many
that
places.
park run is a global phenomenon.
Yeah, absolutely.
My brother Scott has been doing parkrun for about 3 or 4 years, so he gets one of the 200 shirts. But he's actually done the parkrun alphabet around the globe.
Yeah,
So,
right. Yes.
he's his ex parkrun was Exeter in England. So it's a bit of a cheat, but still got the X done. Because there's a couple that, how do you actually get that done? But he's done the entire alphabet now, and. And you're right, like I love that aspect that parkrun presents in terms of doesn't matter who you are, what age, bring your dog, all that kind of thing. And it's got this spirit to it and this culture that is just absolutely phenomenal. And that's what I was talking about as exercise is medicine. Your emotions are working with a group like that. You're physically working with a group like that. And you're connected, heavily connected for all that good stuff in between those two, mental and physical health that parkrun does. And it's very controlled, good support, and it just keeps rolling. It's very impressive.
It's a fantastic idea, yeah. And look, a smaller but no less impressive initiative that's come out of our sector, the men's health sector. I don't know if you've come across this in the last sort of 5 or 6 years, is the growth of man walks. So, or walks and talks. So usually it will be the same time every week, say Friday at 6 a.m. on the beach or wherever it happens to be, and blokes just show up and you go for a walk, no more than 5K. But it's about the social connection as well as it's not an exercise group. It's almost like a men's shed for guys outside, because it's about going somewhere to connect. But in the process, mostly get the exercise.
Yeah, I agree with you, Glenn. There's something magical about moving forward as blokes. Like, this is what I found with road cycling more than anything else, that once I joined road cycling and put on my Lycra, becoming a middle-aged man in Lycra, a mammal, I found that a lot of my worries, I would wait until I was on the bike, moving forward, sitting shoulder to shoulder with another bloke. And by the end of the ride, whether it be 40, 50, 60 Ks, I feel better. My troubles have been off my chest, spilled my guts. A bloke beside me, who I might not know, has listened to it, had a couple of comments. We've done a bit of exercise. We've gotten to the coffee shop, and we all feel better. And so that forward motion, shoulder to shoulder, is a great dynamic for men's mental health as well as their physical health. And so I agree with you that stuff like the men's walk and other things like that have a kind of like black magic to it.
Yeah,
For
yeah.
blokes to be able to talk about their fears and concerns and have
Mm.
other blokes encourage them and stand up for them and
Yeah.
square their shoulders and help them through the day. And then you've slapped on some exercise, which is fantastic for your well-being and your body and your health. It's a win-win-win-win.
Yeah, and there's something in that about the routine piece as well, that it's like if you were just making a commitment to yourself to go out for a walk or a cycle or a run every Saturday morning, there would be Saturday mornings where you wouldn't feel like it. There'd be a reason not to. But when you've made a promise not just to yourself but to your mates, they'll be on the phone or knocking on the door if you don't show up. So that building that so is that building of routine or enrolling people sort of part of what you would recommend in terms of, I suppose, how do we make sure we stay motivated? Because we all know that exercise is good for us, but many of us don't do enough. So how do we put things in place that keep us motivated?
Well, I think you've just described the benefits of it, that, having a group to look forward to seeing, whether it be at the gym or the Pilates class or wherever you might find your exercise or your group. I know my wife is very embedded with a wonderful local gym here on the Sunshine Coast, and her friends who go there, they've built this group that is really, really tight. And they see each other like 4 or 5 times a week, first thing in the morning, and then coffee.
Yeah.
And then they go off in their day and they've had a connection, a reset, and they're ready to go. So I agree with you. You're not going to always feel like it, especially after you might go to the state of origin, watch Queensland destroy New South Wales, and the next morning, Thursday morning, you might not want to get up and do something, but your friends are going, your mates are going, and you look forward to seeing them. So you might not be looking forward to the exercise, which is tremendously beneficial for you, but you might be looking forward to the group and the relationships. And so that's kind of crucial in terms of finding something you like doing and finding like-minded people who like doing it with you. And so it makes it very, very simple, but it does keep you more consistent. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And just a request, if you could do a trigger warning before mentioning the state of origin again for any blues in the audience, that would be a pretty
You can't rely on me for that, mate. I'm sorry.
not a chance. So, what about for those of us who are at a place where we're not doing really any exercise? And it could be for very good reasons. Office-based, busy, drivers is a big one. There's plenty of blokes who the only exercise they get is work, really, and if their work involves sitting down a lot, then they're really not getting any. I know I'm an office worker. That's my biggest challenge, is sitting down all day long and then finding the energy and time to do it. So if we're going from sort of zero or pretty low, what's the sort of the advice there and the motivation there?
Well, ESSA has 11,000 professionals right around the country. So here's a bit of a plug for ESSA. Our exercise professionals are exercise physiologists, exercise scientists, and sports scientists, as well as high performance managers. They form up all of our membership. And we work in allied health and NDIS and aged care and all these large engines in society in our health industry. If you're looking for some tips, just go to the ESSA website, essa.org.au, and in there is going to be tips for, like you've described yourself, Glenn, guys who are hard at it, working really, really hard, and might be sitting too long. So there's, ways to think about getting a stand-up desk, putting an alarm on your phone. So you stand up hour on hour, sit down for an hour, stand up for an hour, but it just prompts you to keep moving. It might be taking the stairs instead of the lift. It might be walking, parking your car a kilometre further from work and walking that kilometre and getting that 15-minute walk, 30-minute round trip. So there's all these tips on how to stay functionally moving and what is the best thing for your desk, the best thing for your chair, just to support your health and doing a little bit more every single day. And then slowly building into these routines that empower you while you're still getting your work done. This is not about adding more work to your day. It's about being a little bit smarter how you work with moving your body and getting that time. I've got a stand-up desk here at home. I've got a stand-up desk at work. And I just make sure that 1 or 2 days a week, I stand up for the entire day. But that's just me being a bit of a psycho, because by the end of the day, my legs are killing me.
Yeah.
And I love it, because it signals to me that I've actually put in the effort to look after myself today. It's not always easy. It's not always pleasant. But for me, I need it. So that's how I personally come at it. But if you go to the ESSA website, you're going to find a lot of ways to do it. We have campaigns like Exercise Right. We've just come out of Exercise Right Week, and our campaign this year was Just Move. And it was an encouragement for people to find that 30 minutes a day or more to just move your body. A little bit like I've just suggested to you. Maybe your 30 minutes was parking a kilometre away from work and walking in. And by the time you get back to your car, you're flogged after that big day that you've just put in, Glenn, but you've done your 30 minutes somehow. So it's about just move.
Yeah. Okay. And look, I'm taking the coaching because I'm standing up right now.
Very good. And we're going to be talking for an hour, so you've had an hour of standing.
Perfect. So two more things that I'm really interested to cover. One is specifically men's health, and the other is I want to get a bit of a chat about the Olympics as well.
Sure.
So firstly, men's health. You mentioned in passing that you've got some good strategies for men's health that you're developing. Would you like to share those with us?
Yeah, sure. Like ESSA has invested a huge amount into men's health over the years. And I know that on this particular forum, you had Jeff Coombs talking about the research that has gone into digging into what makes men tick, what type of exercise works for them. And like I said before, like our exercise physiologists right around the country work with all these different men's groups, from veterans to people suffering from chronic disease and diabetes especially. And when you get into the chronic diseases and injuries and things like that, there's a big block sometimes to sort of say, look, my health is so bad, I can't exercise.
Yeah.
And the research shows that that's the perfect time to do something, because it just keeps on moving the needle in your health outcomes over and over and over again. In the time that you invest in you, to actually just find an exercise professional that can work with you. And like I said, we've got such passionate and dedicated members at Exercise Sports Science Australia in our membership, and they're dedicated to unlocking your potential through exercise, no matter how you're presenting. So it doesn't matter what your condition is. We have professionals that are used to working with your condition and with men. So those are the two areas that I want to highlight, that we've got some very passionate and dedicated members right around the country in pretty much every single place people live in Australia, whether it be regional, remote or rural, or in our cities and metropolitan areas. ESSA has members that are research-based, evidence-based and passionate to use exercise as a healthy outcome for you, no matter how you're presenting and no matter what you've got. I know it's difficult when you're in chronic pain to even think about exercising. But what I'd like to land on people today, if you're in that situation, just ask yourself a very simple question. What can I do today to improve my health outcomes? And is exercise, no matter how low or low grade or where to start, is exercise an option that I might not have considered? So to ask yourself a question, what can I do today to get a healthy outcome? What can I do today to help myself? What can I do today to focus on my health for 30 minutes? Just 30. And it could be, we go back to the desk situation. Is it standing up and sitting down on my chair 14 times an hour? 5 times an hour, 2 times an hour? Is it just doing it once for the first time? And then maybe tomorrow, second time? Or am I going to get into a charity organisation like the Push-Up Challenge that's on this month? Goes for 28 days, and it's for mental health. Am I strong enough that I actually want to join, get a team together of a big national program like that? Where do I want to invest in me today, and what can I do today that moves my health journey into the positive?
That's fantastic. I was reflecting on that with my own experiences as you were speaking, and sometimes for me it's about like the big goal, like you said. So I'll often I'm into triathlons because I'm really bad at 3 disciplines, and that helps you do triathlon. If you can't run or cycle, do all 3 badly, and you'll be okay. But
Nice.
if I don't set that goal, and
Mm.
you know, I'm fortunate to live in a town where I'm 1 kilometer from the start line of an annual triathlon. They've made it really easy for me, you know, by putting it just a walk away from my front door. And when I sign up for that, I know that I'm going to have to turn up at the start line, so I know I'm going to have to exercise. I find that really helpful. But there are also times in my life where I find it really difficult to make time to do anything. And this time of year, particularly for me, ironically, one of our busiest times, Men's Health Week, is one of the times I find it really hard to take care of my health. And where, you know, in my diary, it says this week you're doing a 5K run or an hour cycle, they start to drop off. And at those times, what makes a difference is exactly what you said about it's me going, it's okay not to do the 5 kilometer run today, but make 10 minutes to go for a walk.
Yeah. And that's it. Like the strangest thing is, Glenn, I'm actually the opposite of you.
Right.
If I make a big, fat, hairy goal that
Yeah.
is so compelling and everything like that, I get so myopic, I become really hard to live with.
Right.
I become so selfish. It
Yeah.
really drives kind of an unhealthy behavior within my relationships. So again, like everybody watching, we're all so different.
Yes.
And what makes it really good for me is not to have any goal. Just to have the goal to actually exercise today, and there's a no compromising. I'm going to do something today, and some of it is really sort of like really low key. You know, I'll grab one of my kids and I'll go grab the football. We're going to the beach, and we're lucky enough to live fairly close to a beach, so we'll just go down there, run around, ground out on the sand, and I'll just kick the ball and run and do a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and that'll be it. And for my well-being, my relationship with my boys or my daughter Ava, who plays soccer, it is super important. But if I go in and get a big goal like your triathlon goal, I turn into an absolute shocker.
Right.
So I've really been able to work out how exercise empowers me,
Yes.
what type of exercise I enjoy doing,
Yeah.
how to get it into a daily routine that I'm doing it at least 4 or 5 times a week, doesn't matter what it is. And that really helps me out.
That's great. That's great advice. And it's going to be different for everyone, right? And
Yeah.
it's finding what works for you personally by trial and error. And also at different times of the year, different times of your life, different things will work as well.
Yeah, that's right. And I'm a big believer in the seasons should push you into where to enjoy it, because I think the seasons are made for us to feel differently all during the year. Our bodies react differently to the heat and to the cold, to the autumn and to the sunshine. Even in Queensland, where we don't have a huge swing in temperature sometimes. You know, the wintertime sports are different from the summertime sports, and our bodies are different in our exercise and health routines, both in the winter and the summer. And there's something in that if, you know, everybody listening online wants to explore that, have a think about that, because it really does drive a different kind of fun for me in how I use my body and how long the days are and how much time I've got and how my sleep patterns change and things like that. So there's a bit around the seasons as well in terms of what type of exercise empowers you.
Right. Okay. So I'm going to move it on. And this will be my last question. So for those in the room with us today, if you've got questions or feedback, comments, links you want to share, advice you want to give, whatever it is, now's your time to pop it in the chat box. So I'm really interested, Duncan, theoretically, in the Olympics as a great potential motivator to leave an amazing health legacy. But it's a theory in my mind at the moment, and I'm really interested to hear from you. If you've got any thoughts on how we can, and I'm talking about 2032, right? How can we utilize 2032 to make a significant shift in the amount of physical activity and exercise people do in Brisbane, in Queensland, across Australia? What could we be thinking about now?
Yeah, no, I agree with you, Glenn, that in the next 8 years we have an opportunity sort of like to highlight the health benefits of sport and to be inspired by all our wonderful athletes trying to wear the green and gold and the Olympic rings at our own Olympic Games. So there'll be a halo, or what I call a halo effect, I think, on society health. If we can, you know, open it up and make it accessible because people get inspired.
Yeah.
What are we going to do with that? Are we going to build more facilities in our suburbs? Maybe that's a halo effect of the Olympic Games. Are we going to be learning more stories of inspiration from our top-level athletes that trickle down to our children? So they look at it and go, well, like you said earlier on this call, Glenn, you get very inspired by people's stories. So are we building enough sort of pathways for our children to make sure that their exercise routines and healthy routines are sustainable for the rest of their lives? Are we making it accessible that this big inspirational story in the next 8 years that lands on us in 2032, that there is a way that we can do a legacy program to keep our society continuing to get fit and taking that inspiration into their every single days and doing their dailies? Like, are we talking sustainably or sustainable habits for our young people?
Yep.
So it just becomes part of their lives. Yeah. And I think that will be the big benefit of this Olympic Games if we can start these conversations now and sort of say, because like what I've learned about my journey was everything I did as an elite athlete was not sustainable. It was at a pace and a volume at a crazy level, all pushing down to a race that takes 1 minute and 47 seconds on one day every 4 years. There's nothing sustainable about that. It was all about how hard you can go and hang on tight. What I'm interested in now is having those conversations saying, yes, this is the arena for that inspiration, but we also want to teach the kids that, 30 to 45 minutes every single day of exercise is going to keep a lot of chronic diseases away and sustain a long and fruitful life, away from, body challenges and mental health challenges, because exercise is going to be a key component of that. And that's what I'm interested in doing as a halo effect of the 2032 Olympics.
Right. Okay. So let's keep working to create that halo effect then. Thank you. Really, really insightful. Thank you, Duncan. So a couple of comments in the chat box here. If you've got questions, even raise a hand if you want to. On the toolbar at the bottom, there's a reactions box with a smiley reactions icon with a smiley face. If you click on that, there's a raise your hand icon, which goes like that if you want to, or pop something in the chat box. We've got just a comment from Robert about the importance of keeping sports on free-to-air TV, so we can actually see them and watch them. So Kim can watch all the tennis she wants to watch, or whatever sport it is you like. I know, so another cost thing from Robert as well, just how costly it's getting to take kids to sport.
Yeah, that's right. I've got, like I said, 5 kids, and the fees every year, single year, seem to be going up and up and up. My kids love their sport, and so it's an investment that we continue to make in them. And sometimes it's not easy because they get selected in a rep team, and then they've got to go into state, and then that costs that, and there's another fee, and there's another jersey, and there's another this, and there's another that. So sometimes it does feel like a never-ending story, especially when your kids are pretty good at things. There is a lot of alternatives with our local councils. So if you go onto the local council websites, you will find ways that you can get your kids into sport. Maybe not the structured sport where you get rep teams and jerseys and sort of like Queensland tracksuits and things like that. But there still is a lot of community sport happening that is free and is inclusive. And so please look for that on your local council websites and your local government websites. You will find a lot of inclusive programs to still be able to exercise without any fees.
Right, thank you. A little question here, but also I think a little dig at me here too, Jonathan. So Duncan, do you know anything about the Masters Games? And Jonathan suggesting that I could potentially be in training for the Masters Games.
Well, Jonathan's right, Glenn. Anybody can go in the Masters Games, even you. So what he's talking about is everything that you've spoken about today, Glenn. Actually, having a team that you look forward to seeing, being able to compete, in a friendly manner, but having that commitment to show up to training and things like that. The Masters Games is an extension of that. You then have a further commitment to compete in your age group against like-minded men and women in your age group. So Masters Games is an absolute winner. If you're looking for that bit of the competition at the end of your exercise, the essential exercise, to go and compete and get the young man juices flowing in your older body. I'm not saying you're old, mate. But what I'm saying is The Masters Games is a fantastic structured organisation right across sports, and it leads all the way up to a world championship. So you can go to the World Masters Games in many, many sports. And if that's what you're into, mate, rip into it. I've got a 32-year-old son who's playing fourth grade rugby league in the Newcastle area, and he absolutely loves it. Loves it. So there's something for everybody, and especially at the Masters Games.
Excellent. Okay, we've gone for 50 minutes, which is and it's absolutely flown by. I could carry on chatting for hours with you, Duncan, but I'm sure we all want to get out and exercise now.
Yeah, good.
So I'm going to last shout from the room. If there's any more questions or comments or feedback, anyone wants to pop in, it's your last chance while we've got Duncan here.
I'll give a bit of a plug for ESSA if you don't mind,
Go ahead.
Glenn. If anybody's listening on the call and you're wondering what exercise to do, or you might have a complaint, a long-term complaint, a long-term injury, this is what our accredited physiologists are all about. They're about unlocking your potential. So you can go on our website, and on there is a portal to find an AEP, an accredited exercise professional. And so it's geolocated. You can find one in your area. But these people are absolute professionals in finding what the best exercise is for you, what a routine looks like, and how they can support you to get into some fantastic routines and duties that will help you. And Marie Taylor from ESSA has just kindly put up the our website in terms of a link. And if you want to link in there, we've got people there waiting to help you, no matter where you are, no matter what your circumstance is, because this is what ESSA is all about. We're a membership services full of 11,000 passionate professionals who want to get you moving and use exercise as a real benefit in your life.
That's fantastic. And in terms of affordability, is it something you can get on insurance?
Yep. We're all on the big schemes. We're on Medicare, and we have provider numbers and allied health, you name it, we're involved. And so, you can go down and see your GP, you can get your 6 visits, you can get referred, and we're there to help. So we're everywhere you are. And like I said before, there's 11,000 of us and growing, and we can't wait. I can't wait to help you.
Fantastic. Well, I'm certainly inspired. I've learned a lot. I'm motivated to get into the Lycra, which seems to have shrunk in the last 2 weeks. I don't know how that happens, Duncan, but
the good news is the more you pedal with it on,
the stretchier it gets.
The more you shrink.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. A little bit less of me. So thanks everyone for joining us from all over the country. I know some of you have come and joined us on your public holiday. Remember, we've got these men's health check-ins throughout the week. Please come along to another one, share them in your networks. Remember, this session will be available as a video in a couple of weeks. So we'll send it out to you, and please pass it on to anyone you think would benefit from the great conversation we've just had. Please take a quick moment to complete a short survey for us if you have time. It really helps us with our evaluation and our funding. And look out for the next 4 check-ins tomorrow. Jonathan Bedlow, how to help a mate who's doing it tough. Really great conversation about how to reach out to the blokes in your life and have a useful, meaningful, helpful conversation. Wednesday, we're looking at sleep. Duncan's mentioned the importance of sleep a couple of times. It was our most popular talk last year. People really interested in this, and the conversation is how to make sleep your friend and benefit your health. On Thursday, new talk we've got from our Know Your Man Facts toolkit on the different health checks that men can get. And Duncan made it very clear the value of getting health checks at the right time before you actually find out there's something wrong with your heart from having a heart attack. And on Friday, we're finishing off with a really interesting focus on the links between alcohol, drugs, and men's mental health. So that's all our sessions for this week. If you're doing anything for Men's Health Week or in an organization that's involved in Men's Health Week, please let us know. We'd love to share and promote what you're up to too. But that's it for today. A final real from the heart, from the healthy heart, from the well-exercised heart. Thank you to Duncan Armstrong for what you've shared with us today. It's been a great way to kick off Men's Health Week, Duncan. Been a real privilege to have you with us, and thank you for the great work that you and ESSA are continuing to do in getting more people doing exercise to stay healthy.
Yeah, thanks, Glenn. Look, it's been a real privilege to represent ESSA and also partner with your organisation. We think you're doing outstanding work, and it's very important work too. You know, the more we can educate men out there in terms of looking after their mental and physical health, the better Australia will be. And that sounds like a big statement, but you know, it's all we've got. You know, so it's a very important initiative. So thanks very much, Glenn. It's been great to be here.
Great. Thanks, Duncan.